guys, it's Angelo, and today we have a plus 18 Theater of Pain on my Shadow Priest with a commentary I wanted to give you so that you guys can see me play a key that is a little bit higher. Now, for this run, I am using a pretty standard build at this point. I'm using Dreamweaver since she is now at Renown level 54, as well as a typical build with, of course, Fortress of the Mind, Misery since this is a pretty high key and a relatively difficult dungeon, and a regular Hungering Void build. Alright, if you want to join the discussion with anything World of Warcraft, Mage, or Priest related, please be sure to join the Discord with the link in the description box below, and apart from that, have fun and let's go right ahead and have a look. Okay, so as I said before, I played with the Dreamweaver for this dungeon since Dreamweaver in the Night Fae Covenant now has all of her soul binds unlocked. Also, I will be switching to Night Fae next week. I believe I had already stated that in a previous video. So this is basically the last couple of runs I will be having as a Night Fae. Apart from that, I'm using a pretty standardized build. As you can see, I'm running both Misery as well as the Hungering Void, which you will see once I enter Void form. And yeah, basically the regular build for Theater of Pain. Of course, Theater of Pain you can also run with Searing Nightmare. It's really up to you, and it's also up to the pulls. Now, since this is a plus 18, pulls are typically not as big. We need to try to concentrate right and get things down properly. So the pulls are pretty much in favor of a Misery build for this run, but as always, you can easily run Searing Nightmare. The baseline you basically want to remember is that a Searing Nightmare build will always be the much more effective build in basically any dungeon. You can always run the Searing Nightmare build, but you cannot always run the Misery build. Our tank died here. We should have actually bloodlusted this. He actually said that when we pulled, but we decided not to bloodlust because we genuinely thought we would be able to kill this trash without actually dying. Truth is, we should have genuinely bloodlusted this, but well, we didn't. And we had to unfortunately suffer 3 deaths here because of that. Apart from that, of course, a pretty standardized pull, right? Nothing really out of the extraordinary here. I have already switched a couple of shards of domination here. Keep in mind that the domination socket bonus doesn't work in Mythic Plus, however, the sockets themselves do. So for this pull, I don't have any real cooldowns apart from Void Form, I believe. Mindbender isn't up yet, Power Infusion isn't either. As you can see, I'm placing the little Nia, or rather the Dreamweaver, AoE area on the ground whenever I use Fey Guardians. It gives me 15% haste. I move out of it here on accident, really, and I kind of notice my mistake and I move right back in. I interrupt, pass around the Virulent so that he can run back into melee range. And I kind of stand relatively close, so that if I get stunned by that 4th ad, which sometimes spawn, the other players can literally just get me out. Fortunately, I don't think I actually got stunned this patch, or rather this dungeon. Oh, well, never mind, I did. Well, in that case, I think I only got stunned once at the very beginning. Yeah, exactly, and I get bopped, so it's really no big deal. Now, due to me having to basically desync my cooldowns, this pull kinda didn't really go in my favor. The problem is I kind of needed everything ready at the pull to seriously do some damage here, and apart from that, obviously, this week you get interrupted very frequently due to the quaking. And the problem that we as Shadow Priests have with this quaking is the fact that we get interrupted very often during our Mindbender. You're going to see this very frequently in this dungeon, as well as basically yourself if you play any dungeon this week. When you're playing with the Shadowflame Prism, and you're trying to get the Mindbender through, and you're trying to cast Mind Blasts or Shadow or Deaths, to extend the duration of the Mindbender, here once more by the way, I forget that I have the zone up. I step in it now, but like 2 seconds of it I forgot. It's just really weird because we have never really played with Dreamweaver before, so playing it now genuinely needs some time to get used to. But anyways, as I was saying, the quaking kind of forces you to, stop casting. And because of that, you will often lose Mindbender uptime. That's of course problematic in a boss fight like this one, because the Mindbender uptime is what makes or breaks my damage. So not being able to always cast a Mind Blast and having to stop will cost me precious Mindbender uptime. Anyways, boss died, we all did pretty much the same amount of damage. Boomkin did a little bit more. He is a Venthyr Boomkin, by the way, as well. So you can pretty much expect a couple of very insane pulls with Venthyr Boomkin doing a ton of damage. I have another, I think a plus 18 or plus 19 Mists of Tyrna Scythe with the same Boomkin as well, basically the same group. Believe me when I tell you, it's insane how much damage Boomkin does. Why that's in the game, why that isn't nerfed yet, is genuinely beyond me. It's genuinely an insane amount of damage. But anyways, we jump down here, we kill the Executioner. I mean, he's pretty simple. We forgot to stack here, so we quickly run together. And then after that we run out. Once more, I kind of forget about the zone on the ground. I did really feel like showing you this video of me also making mistakes, right? Because it's important for me to show you that you're not the only person, right, who'll make mistakes. Everyone does. And genuinely, because we don't play Dreamweaver, or we haven't played him in the past, or her rather, in the past at all, it's so easy to forget the importance of the zone on the ground. Just keep in mind that you get 15% haste whenever you're inside of it during its uptime. The best way, of course, for you to remember is by using a weak aura. Obviously, that isn't always possible depending on who you are or depending on what add-ons you have installed, but that would ideally be the best way. Here we do kind of a big pull. I was a little bit scared at first, but it turns out this was actually a pretty good idea. I'm going to Fake Art, or rather Soul Shape, out of this. Before now, getting ready to enter Void Form, along with a Mindbender, just to be sure that this pull will go smoothly. Dots are about to drop here. I can't really read that at the moment because I have the Mindbender running, so I kind of snuck one in here really fast. Mindbender's over now. I'm going to Dispersion here in order to just be free of movement. Keep in mind, whenever you disperse, you cannot be rooted or slowed in any other way, shape, or form, apart from if you get like charged. The charge will actually briefly slow you, but apart from that, basically nothing can really slow you. As you can see, Venthyr Boomkin, absolutely insane. He basically played this pack by himself, even though both me and the Death Knight used cooldowns. And I mean, that's really good, right? We skip away here because we don't actually want to play this aspect here yet. I'm pretty sure we're going to be using the Bloodlust on that next boss fight here, which is why we're taking this way. This is pretty much the standard route. I'm pretty sure most Mythic Plus groups are playing it this way. The Death Knight is about to pick the Venthyr, or rather the Necrolord banner, so that we have the Necrolord buff. And here I basically just dot. This is basically the weakest pack to play as a Shadow Priest in the Theater of Pain if you're playing with the Misery build, simply because it takes you a bit of time to ramp up the damage here. By the time my damage is ramped, as you can see, the Death Knight has already effectively killed everything here. That's just the way it is. If you can, just circumvent the fact that you will lack damage here by dealing good damage on other trash packs, then that's totally fine. This pack here is a little bit easier to play as a Shadow Priest if you set it up properly. You're going to want to start dotting as fast as possible, so you need to run into position very quickly, so that you can immediately start dotting up. As you can see here, I'm going to immediately begin dotting up. Obviously, this gets hindered a little bit by the quaking, but that's okay. Dreamweaver zone is down, and at this point here, I basically just play my regular rotation. I'm gonna have to redot here. Since I'm not using any cooldowns, there's not really that much to do. Now the next pack, we're going to be pulling both the Soul Eater, or whatever the big Soul Elemental is called, as well as the mini boss. So the next pack is actually going to be a little bit more difficult, but we are going to manage. Once more, you can see the problematic with quaking. It genuinely costs quite a lot of DPS. What's also pretty interesting or pretty relevant to mention here is that due to the lack of a Demon Hunter and the lack of the Mage, I'm missing both an Intellect buff as well as the magic damage taken debuff on the enemy, which all in all genuinely probably costs me, I want to say, about 700 damage per second. If I think about that now, like the damage numbers are just really high. So the higher the gear scales, or rather the higher the gear is, the more damage you're going to lose by aspects missing, right? And if intellect as a buff is missing, as well as the 5% magic damage taken as a debuff on the enemy is missing, that's going to cost a spec like a Shadow Priest a significant amount of damage. Keep in mind, all of our power relies on spell damage modifiers, or on just, spell damage in total. Our Shadow form gives us extra shadow damage. Our Void form gives us extra shadow damage. Our Hungering Void as a talent gives us extra damage taken on the enemy. Our Dissonant Echoes gives us another free way of applying that, right? So a lot of our damage relies on multipliers. Power Infusion gives haste, it's right, the list goes on. Dreamweaver, if I would stand in the zone, gives haste as well. And so on and so forth. Once more, I completely forget the zone here, but in all fairness, I wouldn't have been able to stay in it anyways because of the quaking. But that does cost me a significant amount of damage. Now, in the next couple of dungeons, you're going to see me run as a Shadow Priest. You are going to see me use the Dreamweaver zone much more frequently. Unfortunately, though, this was basically the first dungeon I believe I played this in. And yeah, I do sincerely apologize, but I forgot very frequently. Again, I did want to show you that video just to show that that's completely normal. It happens to everyone, right? That's just the way it is. Don't feel disgruntled because you make mistakes. My interrupt wasn't ready for this one yet. I'm gonna run into the AMZ of the Death Knight, just to be sure here. I believe interrupt is ready at this point. I don't think I used it this pack. Actually I did, never mind. I interrupted the Bone Magus, whatever you want to call him. And this one needs to be kicked, but it doesn't actually. The Paladin gets it. But it looks like she's good. Yeah, perfect. And then here's the Soulstorm. Now, I don't know whether or not any other healer would have been able to heal after that Bone Spear came through, right? The Death Knight died. I believe someone else died before that. And the Paladin has the big advantage. Yes, someone else is actually going to die here, yeah. The Paladin has the big advantage here that they can just bubble themselves, right? So she was able to just bubble and then just heal. I'm pretty sure any other healer would probably have had a really difficult time with this. Because the bubble basically means you have to heal one less player, right? Because you're just completely immune to damage. Maybe a Shaman would have been fine here, because Shamans can just place a Spirit Link Totem. That would have perhaps saved us. But this was fine. Now, unfortunately, as always, Quaking displays why it's a terrible affix, and it interrupts the resurrection not even half of a second before it came through. Not gonna lie to you, the current Mythic Plus meta is not fun at all. I have to be honest, right? I think it would be disingenuous not to be honest with you. And the way that, or the combination of affixes this patch, as well as the new affixes, are just absolutely not fun at all. I have to dodge here. I unfortunately waste a bit of time before getting back into the Dreamweaver zone. Once more, Quaking displays why it's terrible. I believe I get hit here because I actually didn't see the Void zone, because it was within the Dreamweaver zone. I was wondering, but then I noticed. So, very unfortunate. Now here I'm immediately going to dispel the mage, or the bone mage, just to be sure that the shield is gone. I have to dodge here, and this is basically a trash pack where I don't use any cooldowns really, because I basically have to have them for the boss. This is a tricky trash pack in my opinion, not because it's difficult, it's actually quite easy. The problem here is that you can't use any cooldowns for this trash pack, like basically no one can, because immediately after this trash pack you have the boss. So if you're using cooldowns here, you're not going to have them ready for the boss at all. And even on a fortified week, well, I wasn't paying attention here, even on a fortified week, not having cooldowns on a boss kind of means that you either have to rely on someone else completely nuking the boss down, or you have the problem that you're actually going to be wasting more time. At least, in my opinion, for most boss fights. Now, the fortified week basically kind of dictates that you want to use your cooldowns, well, on cooldown, right? You kind of want to use them on trash packs as much as possible. But again, for this trash pack here, the problem is, if you do that, you're effectively wasting more time because you're not going to have it ready for the boss. And even though the boss gives you a damage buff, he still has quite a lot of HP. So here we go. Pretty sure we're going to Bloodlust this immediately. At least we should. Bloodlust is off cooldown. Yep, there it goes. Quaking, and now we're pretty much going to town. As you just saw, the quaking prevented me from casting the Mind Blast, so I genuinely lost just about a second of the Mindbender. And you're going to see this happening, or you're going to see the result of that pretty much now. If I would have had that extra second, I could have gotten that Mind Blast out without any problems. But the way this just happened, I barely got the Mind Blast out to extend the Mindbender. Just in time. Literally, probably about like a millisecond left before the Mindbender would have actually disappeared. So if this happens twice, you're just completely out of luck, right? And you lose even more than a second of uptime of Mindbender, which is terrible. So also, just so that you guys know, I'm playing with the Tome of Monstrosities, or whatever it's called, from the Terror Grew, which drops at the Terror Grew in the Sanctum of Domination. Arguably not the best pick for any dungeon, I'm not going to lie to you, but I believe that on a higher Mythic Plus level, it's not that bad to use because it gives me a significant amount of extra damage on most adds that have to die, as well as on bosses like this one, right? But apart from the fact that I just don't have any better trinkets really, it's arguably not the best trinket to use. As you can see, Death Knight as well as the Boomkin are doing quite a bit of damage. I decided not to use my cooldowns here again. I had them all ready, but I'm going to use them all in the next trash pack. The fact that we Bloodlusted here was a really good idea. As you can see, the boss almost lasted for 2 minutes, even with a Bloodlust, with all cooldowns and with the damage buff he gives. So believe me when I tell you, the boss takes a really long time. And this is of course on a fortified week. I don't even want to know how long it takes on a non-fortified week. Again, I make the mistake of running out. I realize my mistake and I immediately run back in. Unfortunately, I'll have to run out here. I'm going to warn my healer that I have to take a couple of hits because I don't want to waste the Nia zone. Fortunately, she has an eye on me, so everything is good. Quaking once more completely ruined this Mindbender. And on top of that, due to my frustration, I get Shadow Locked. But as you were able to tell, the Quaking once more threw my momentum off and blocked me from casting, which meant that the Mindbender would vanish. It's kind of unfortunate how many gameplay designs, I mean, of course, this is just my opinion, but it's kind of unfortunate how many gameplay designs don't feel thought through, right? Why does my Mindbender rely on such hard casts when the Mindbender will then basically fall off if I get prevented from casting, which in a Quaking week happens incredibly frequently. And this wouldn't really be a problem if I'd have other viable legendary options, right? You could just say, well, just play something else. I don't know, play the PYLOT command, for example. Or play the Painbreaker Psalm. This is of course just a random example. But the Painbreaker Psalm is trash, and PYLOT command is only available to Necrolords. I can't play Talbot or Stratagem because let's not fool ourselves, the Talbot or Stratagem is affected even harder by the Quaking. So I don't have any option to pick. I can't play the Eternal Call to the Void because it's, let's not lie to ourselves here either, it's garbage, right? It's bad. And if I want to perform on a +18 Theater of Pain, I have to take what's best. And it's a really bad feeling that taking what's best is still kind of blocked for like no reason at all, right? So the reason why I'm standing up here is because I'm trying to line of sight these axe throws. I make the mistake that I don't really realize where the tank is taking is tanking the ad. He tells me now, so I move into the proper position to blue. But from my point of view, it looked like blue isn't going to get me line of sighted, so I decided to stay up top. Unfortunately, of course, I throw the boss up whenever he charges with that. So here we're going to basically play them together. The paladin is going to put a repentance onto the captain, but we decide to just play the captain. We interrupt the roar, and we basically just go to town. I have no cooldowns up at all. I use my tome on the captain here just to make sure that he dies. Yeah, looking good. And here we go. This is, needless to say, a trash pack where Searing Nightmare would have been able to spread much more damage, much more frequently. But it's really no problem at all because we have the Ventir Boom Kit, who effectively just nukes this trash pack down. Now, let me know in the comments below, maybe if you're a Boomkin, would you have used your cooldowns here, or would you have used your cooldowns for this next enemy? Because now when I'm looking at it, I'm not sure where I would have personally used them, right? I mean, of course, I'm just saying he can do whatever he wants to do. I'm just saying maybe I would have used them here. But on the other hand, he needs them ready for the boss, which there's no way he can if he uses them here now. I decided to stand inside of the zone even though she casted her shield, because I know it's only like a couple of seconds. It makes much more sense just standing in the zone, in my opinion, making maximum use of it. At this point, zone's gonna run out, so I'm gonna run into position here to attack, even with the shield up. As you all know, these mini bosses in the Theater of Pain take a very long time to kill. You kind of have to use cooldowns here, otherwise there's just no way. Which is why I actually used cooldowns on the start of this pull. Here I'm just gonna line of sight this. Well, at least I tried, but turns out I wasn't able to. So I needed to figure something else out, so I ran into that little corner on the edge here. I really thought that I was line of sighted where I was. It turns out I wasn't, but I am gonna line of sight this here. And in here I have to move into position again. As you can see, mini boss took ages to kill, but we're good. We don't have a bloodlust for this boss up yet. We don't need one, to be honest. This is a relatively easy boss, arguably the easiest in the dungeon. All you need to do is kill the banner, which is, I mean, fairly easy, right? You really don't have to do anything. I'm gonna reapply a Shadow Core Oil here because mine actually expired. Here we go, going for the banner. Wonderful work. And I switched a little bit earlier off of the banner onto the boss, because the truth is the banner is just going to die. Even my cleave would just kill the banner, right? Even my Shadowflame Prism cleave would have just killed it. At this point here, I have absolutely no cooldowns left. 2 seconds of Void Form are ruined. However, I tell the DK to just kill me because there's just no way. There's no way I can utilize the damage buff at all. So he does just that. We go back up. Boss is already at half health, so we do this one more time and we're good. I believe I'm gonna get hit here once. Maybe not this time, but next phase, I'm gonna actually get smashed here once. But since it's not a Tyrannical week, it doesn't actually one-shot. In fact, it hardly deals any damage. I believe that was this run. It may not have been this run. I honestly can't remember. But I definitely got hit in one of my runs. Yeah, it actually was this run. So at this point here, it's basically just killing the boss. I do decide to use cooldowns here because the other 2 DPS are going to be dropped down. So since someone's gonna have to do something here, I decide to nuke the boss rather than focusing the banner. But to nuke properly, I'll need cooldowns. So that's exactly what I decided to do. And then here at this point, we just keep moving. Right, we only have one area left. This dungeon is actually going really smooth so far. Only 7 deaths. Not gonna lie to you, all of them could have been prevented. None of them were unlucky, at least in my opinion. We could have bloodlusted the first pack. We could have used better cooldowns on the Soul Eater, but it is what it is. Now here, I make the mistake of not running into melee range. I constantly forget this whenever I'm in the Theater of Pain. The good thing is we have an AoE stun with the Druid tank, who is a Torrent, so I believe he was actually able to stun. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I should have ran into melee range. Absolutely so, to prevent the Sludge Spewers from jumping around. Pretty sure I costed the Death Knight a lot of damage. The Withering Discharge needed to be kicked, but we actually killed the enemy before that happened. I was getting ready to interrupt it, but he's already dead. Now these 2 here are bolstered, of course, this week. This is a bolstering week. So they're gonna take some time to kill. We should have kicked that meat shield. I have my interrupt ready. I don't know why I was sleeping, but I should have absolutely interrupted that meat shield. I hope I'll interrupt the next one. Yes, I did. Perfect. And here we just kill this one. He's triple bolstered at this point, so he is going to take some time. Tank is going to start having to move away. There we go. Death Knight picks the banner, and we go. Now, I'm going to make a big mistake in the next pack. So, not this pack right here, but on our way to the next room, I'm going to make quite a big mistake, actually. But, I mean, it happens, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to see. I'm going to use cooldowns here just because I need to ensure that this trash pack dies. I know that the Boomkin is using them here as well, but at least in my opinion, it took a little bit too long, so I decided to nuke along with it. In hindsight, I probably didn't have to use cooldowns here. I should have used them with the next pack. But at the end of the run, you're going to see we only have about like 30 seconds left. And I'm going to... or rather, it's going to be fine that I use them here. Here comes the beam. You have to dodge this. The easiest way of playing this as a range DPS is by you positioning yourself at the corner or close to the corners of this little hallway here. The reason for that is that if the blast goes onto you, all you need to do is take a couple of steps to the side. But in order to do this, the tank needs to position the mini-boss at the corner, right? Like right at the corner of the T-crossing. If that happens, this is insanely easy to dodge. Literally, you only have to step left or right. And here again, I need to dodge this. Pretty simple. And let's kill. Good job. I'm gonna pick the Regenerative Fungus. In my opinion, it's the best one of this one. It does offer quite a significant amount of healing. So I totally didn't think about using my Invisibility Potion here. I don't know why, but I was thinking that the ad just wasn't in range of me. I have no idea why I thought that. I should have just used my Invis Potion. No one said anything on comms, so I was just running blindly because I thought everything was good. Turns out it wasn't. So our healer reses me, thank you. Thank you for ironing out my mistake. And we keep going. I have cooldowns ready here, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to use them simply because I need to have them ready for the boss. This is a close timer. We have 7 minutes and 30 seconds left, But we have 2 more trash packs to play, and we have a boss fight to play. And we have also a boss fight to play that isn't favorable for ranged DPS. It's definitely a melee boss fight. And we have 2 ranges, and both of those ranges are lacking the added damage that ranged DPS would get, right? Our comp is, needless to say, not synergizing well. We have a little amount of kicks, because we only have Death Knight and Druid with melee kicks. We have a Boomkin with a Solar Beam, and we have me with, well, a Silence, which is terrible, and a stun, a single target stun at that. So the next boss is definitely going to take more time than it should have. In fact, the next boss in and of itself is probably the easiest, right? Just as easy as the previous boss. The problem is it takes really long with a bad setup, because you always get gripped in. Even if you don't get gripped in, you have to run out, because after he does the grip, well, rip me. After he does the grip, he does the smash of the ground. So it's definitely not a favorable boss for ranged DPS. I made a kind of bad mistake here. I thought I was positioned properly. It turns out I wasn't. Nice roar actually there for me. The tank paid really good attention. Pretty sure I would have survived without, but thank you for that. Absolutely so. Ad is dead. Here we go. We can use the roar, or we were able to use the roar to move to the next pack. And since we've already killed the sludge spewers at this point, all we need to do is kill these 2 ads. I don't want to use any cooldowns here again, because I know for a fact I'm going to have them, or I'm going to need them to have them ready. Get this ad down as fast as possible. There we go, perfect, and here we go. I believe he bloodlusted the trash pack before this, yeah. Yeah, which was actually a good call. It was actually a good idea bloodlusting a pack somewhere earlier on. The reason being is we're going to have bloodlust ready for the final boss in the last couple of seconds. You're going to see that happening. Our bloodlust is on a 4-minute timer left. It's actually a little bit less. For some reason, the Blizzard timers aren't exactly accurate. What this should actually say is that bloodlust is on a 3-minute and something seconds timer left, not on a 4-minute timer. Because it actually is. It's actually on a 3-minute and something timer. So the bloodlust is going to be ready about a minute before the timer ends. Which is good, because we were able to use it along with cooldowns in phase 2 of the final boss, as you're going to see in just a couple of moments. We have 4 minutes left, so of course in our minds this is going to be a really close key. Believe me, everyone's going to try their best here not to mess up, or rather not to mess up anymore, put it that way. At this point here, I begin to just focus the boss. I'm pretty much done with even attacking the ads. I'm pretty much just going to focus on the boss. Because the truth is, this boss needs to die as soon as possible. We really don't have much time left. I'm gonna save cooldowns here. I made that call because I wanted to be sure that I have them ready for the next boss. It would have made more sense, or rather it makes more sense, to keep my cooldowns, to use them all on the next boss and save that time, rather than using them here and only using like a third of the cooldown and losing the rest, right? That would be a bad idea. So even though in the moment you may want to use the cooldown, sometimes you need to think ahead. Now, the worst part about this dungeon is what's going to be happening now. So the RP of the boss spawning takes away so much of the time. It's not even funny. We were upstairs at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. She isn't going to be spawning until like 2 minutes and 30. It's insane. It is honestly crazy. Why this is in a competitive setting is entirely beyond me. Look, it's 2 minutes and 30 left. She's still not here, right? I still cannot attack her. 2 minutes and 25, still nothing. And 2 minutes and 20, and now we go. I apply the tome. And Quaking screws me over again. Here we go. I'm gonna use cooldowns immediately. I can't waste any more time. And I'm gonna go straight to town as hard as possible. I'm lucky that the beam went the other way. It would have cost me a ton of damage if the beam would have gone my way. Definitely so. Again, Quaking screws up my Mindbender, costing me an entire Shadow Flame Rift, as well as an extra second of Mindbender attacks. I interrupt my ad here. I stun the other one, but it gets killed anyways. I reapply the dots here as fast as possible, move into position to kill the boss as fast as possible. Bloodlust is going to be coming up in 12 seconds. We have 1 minute and 28 seconds left. This boss is at 60% HP. Not gonna lie, this was a really, really, really close key. You have to move out of range here. Get away from the grip. Tank did really, really good calls here, I'm not gonna lie. He basically called the entire dungeon, which was really, really good. Fortunately, we phase her, and my cooldowns are just about to come up. So we bloodlusted this immediately. I don't have cooldowns up yet, and I'm not gonna use anything here until now. So I'm gonna Mindbender, Mind Blast, Void Eruption. I need to get out as much damage as possible, as fast as possible. I need to use Fey Guardians here now, but I also kind of have to dodge, right? So I'm gonna Fey Guardians this now, and use the rest of the damage as good as possible. 39 seconds left, and she is dead. Good job. Very well played. My overall damage wasn't that high, but honestly that's okay. Thank you all, of course, so much for watching. If this video was helpful to you, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay updated on the content on my channel, be sure to subscribe. Now, as always, my friends, have a good one, enjoy patch 9.1, and I will see you all in the next one.